in this session, we are going to write an Azure function to register a user and confirm his mobile number. So I'm going to create a new project here. I'm going to select this demo project. It's an empty project. It's a C#. The template will be HTTP trigger. The function name will be register user registration. The namespace would be, I can just say food delivery .app, and I'm gonna leave it as anonymous, and I'm gonna open in the current window. So the project got created. So let us see what files we have. We have this local settings.json, which we need to use. There are some unresolved dependencies, so I just say restore. Let's go back to the, if you go back to the function itself, we have a static function, and then we have a static class. We have anonymous authorization level. We have get and post. We need to remove the gets. We just need to use post here, and that's it. So in order to accept user information, we need to create a model for that user. Let's go ahead and create a model. New file, user model.cs. Basically, I would copy the same namespace. So let me copy the namespace here into the user model. So user will come up, public class user register model. So a user would have only 3 items for now. So it's first name, last name, and mobile number. So we need to figure out how to send an OTP to this user to confirm his mobile number, to validate his mobile number. So we have the user model ready. I'm going to copy this. We got to remove the gets. We just need a post here. So I'm going to remove the get, keep the post, and I'm going to remove this also because it's a get related. So here we have this code here. We already created a user model. We're going to accept that. So I'm going to remove this dynamic. So whenever you have dynamic, there's a lot of chance or confusion. So I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to make this response as user model. So we're getting a user model request in the body, and it's going to get converted into user model object. It's going to deserialize the JSON into an object. So I've got data here. So I'm calling this user. Let me call this user model so that I know what I'm getting in. Now here, I'm going to comment this for a while. Okay, see. Yeah. So the next thing I need to do is we need to add the libraries, the NuGet packages for Azure Storage and Twilio. We are using Twilio to send the OTP text. So now we're going to add the NuGet packages for Twilio and Azure Storage. So I added the Twilio package here, and also the extension for storage. These are the versions I'm using. So I want you to take a moment to note that we are using version 3 of Azure Functions, which is the latest as of today, and that is what you are seeing here. The Azure Functions version is version 3. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to restore the dependencies. So once it's done, now there is some work we need to do. We have to add the correct attributes for the Twilio and the storage. So I'm going to get those attributes and add them. So let me walk you through those attributes. So here I'm adding, there is one for Twilio, sending the Twilio SMS, and another one for storing the user information in the user table. So here I have this table called users, which I'm creating using Azure table storage, and this the IAsync collector, whatever you're seeing here and here, this is a standard output binding for sending data to Twilio and table. So wherever you see the IAsync character, it is a standard binding that is used to send that appropriate message. For example, in this case, I have create message options. This is coming from Twilio. This library is from Twilio. This class is from Twilio, and this one we have to build one. We have to create a class called users to store the user data. So I'm going to add the namespaces for Twilio so that this error here will go away. Let me add yeah, so I added the Twilio namespaces. So now this error is gone. The create message option is gone. Now for this users table, I have to create a class called users, which is let me create a class called users.cs. Now let me use the same namespace as this, so I'm going to create the same namespace here. Namespace is ready. Public class users. Now this is actually a storage table in Azure, which I'm creating right now. It's an Azure storage table, so it has to inherit from the table entity, from a class called table entity, because that's what Azure storage provides. So once you inherit from table entity, you will see that it comes with certain attributes which we need to satisfy. I'm going to walk you through that. So here we have a users table, and we need to store the user information. For example, the first name, the last name, the mobile number, the OTP, whether the user is registered or not. So such details. So let us find that attributes and then add it to this class here. Now I added the first name, last name, the OTP that was sent to the user, each user validated, and the mobile number. So all this is stored. All this will be stored in the database table called users. Now this is a flat table, so it will come with certain more attributes called like partition key, row key, and timestamp. I'm going to talk about that as we proceed in this discussion. So now that I have added the users table here, this error will go away. The error that was coming here went away. Now, so now I've added the Twilio and the table has been added. Now we have to write the logic to send to generate an OTP, to hash. I don't want the OTP to be exposed in the database, so I want to hash it. So that nobody can see what OTP was sent to the user. And for that I have to write some functions from utility functions. So I'm going to create a class called utils.cs. So this is a static class. Again, it will have the same namespace. So I'm going to copy the namespace here, and I'm going to paste it here. So public static class utils. So I've already written some code here. I'm going to use that code, and then I'm going to explain what I've done. So here, I'll copy this. Yeah, so I'm going to copy this utils I've done. So let me walk you through this. So the first function here generates a OTP. So it's a very simple function. It has it creates a random class here, and this returns the 6-digit integer for the OTP. Now the second function is a helper function to create a hash algorithm. This is nothing but a helper function. I just wanted to save some lines of code, so I have written this. I'm going to show you how this is called. The third one is get hash. So this is the hash of the OTP that will be returned, and this is the verify hash. So these two are standard functions available in the Microsoft documentation. if you go to the Microsoft documentation, there are two functions which are like a demo functions which are available for creating a hash and verifying a hash. I have just copy pasted from there. I have not written this on my own. Okay, it makes it easy. So now that I have the utils ready, we have to write the logic to send a OTP to the user and then insert that record in the database. So let's see how we will do that. So I'm going to remove this code here. So till here, till the line 27, we know that we are getting the user model, which is the first name, last name, and the mobile number. So now we generate an OTP and use the Twilio output binding, which is here. This Twilio output binding, which is called as options, and then we'll send the OTP to the user. So let me make it easy for you. Let me fetch that code for you. So here I have this code here. So the first line of code here, line 29, generates the OTP, and it hashes the OTP. The second line, the line 30, actually hashes the OTP using the utils.getHash, which we just discussed. And once the OTP is hashed, this is used for sending the OTP to the database. So I'm going to use this OTP hash to send to the database. Now here, if you look at this line, these 3 lines of code here, I'm creating a message, SMS message, to send to the user. I'm going to remove this. I'm sending this SMS message to send to the user, and here in the body I'm saying, okay, hello username, your passcode is user OTP, which is coming from here. Now here in this phone number, you would specify the phone number of the user, which is coming from the request body. For example, that will be user model dot mobile number. Okay. Yeah, so that's the mobile number you're gonna send the OTP to. So now here till here, line 36, we have finished the coding for sending an OTP. Now the next one is saving this user information to the database using this async user table. So let's add that code. Now here, as you can see, now this line of code here, from line 38 to 49, I'm creating a new record for this users table, which I have already created here. This users table here. Now the thing I want to note down is we have this partition key and row key. So let me take a moment to explain this. A partition key is used in a flat table to partition the values, to horizontally partition the values across a storage space. So because this is a non-relational structure, it is easy to partition horizontally. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm using the last name, the first letter of the last name as the partition key. So I'm taking this last name, taking a substring. 0 means the first character, 1 means the total length of the string. So it actually pulls out the first character of my last name. Now the row key is actually a row key is just a variable where you uniquely identify a row. For this I'm using this thing called ticks. Ticks is a number that is generated by the datetime value, which is down to the milliseconds. So whenever this code executes, it will have a unique value of the ticks, and that becomes the row key. I'll show you how once we run this, and I'll show you the response. And finally, I am adding the record to the user table. Now I want to send a response back to the user saying that okay, this has been done. So I'm gonna send an anonymous object called new ID equals to the record dot row key. So basically I'm sending the row key, the record ID of the user that has been created. Now this will be useful when you want to validate the mobile number with the OTP code that's entered by the user. So now that this is ready, let's do a quick let's try to run this. I'm gonna start debugging. There's a lot of code in here. I'm gonna start debugging. Now it will give me an endpoint which I can call from Postman. So the problem now is I have this setting here, right? I have this setting and there is no values in this. So we have to add the values here for Twilio. That's the error I'm seeing here. So let's do that. Stop debugging. Yeah, so let's do that. So I want to take a moment and explain this local settings JSON that I've built here. So I have added 5 attributes here. The first 2 are web job storage, web jobs dashboard. Both these are pointing to my local storage. It's my local development. So I am using an emulator. If you look at my taskbar here, see I'm using this emulator, and then and then to make it work, I'm using is development storage equals to true. Now I have 3 parameters here: Twilio SID, Twilio token, and Twilio from. Account and SID and auth token will come from the portal, and Twilio from is the from number that you would have created. So when you register for a Twilio account, you have to buy a number, and that is that from number. So the reason why this has come out here is, if you look at the user registration class, I'm using this syntax called percentage Twilio from percentage. So this syntax here will tell the Azure system to substitute this value from the configuration file, from this here. So for these 2 values, for account Twilio SID and these 2, they are done automatically. But since this is like a custom value, I'm getting this from the configuration file, which is here. So I'm going to fill up these values and then I'm going to run the function. So I'm going to run the function now, start debugging here. I've already entered the configuration parameters in my local settings file. So I'm going to copy this endpoint here. I'm going to Postman, and I'm going to create that the user registration request. So here I'm going to go to I selected post here, I selected body here, and I'm going to make it raw and JSON. So now if you look at the values here, it has to be of type model. So for example, if you go here, it has to be type user model definition, first name, last name, and mobile, these 3 attributes. So what I do is I go back here, I create a JSON object, I create first name, so let's make it Captain America, last name America, and the mobile number will be, I'm going to give a test number 510364139. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to submit this, and I would see a record in the database and the text on my phone. So I see a record here. I see this row ID being generated here, and I see that there are no errors, everything has went through. So let's look at the database and see what is coming there. So I see the users table created. Let me walk you through this quickly. So I see this users table being created. It has a partition key of A, which is the last name America, the first letter of the last name America, which is A. Because I'll have only 26 letters, I'll have 20 partitions being generated. There are only 26 letters in the alphabet, so I'll have 26 partitions being generated. The row key is the ticks value happened at that instant. This is the timestamp, first name and last name, and the OTP which has been hashed, and the flag saying user is validated is false because we have not run the validate function yet, and the mobile number. So now I would get a text on that mobile number, and I would take the text and this row key here, and I would call the validate function. recap, we have used two output bindings here. One is for the Twilio SMS and another is one for the Azure Flat Tables. So here, as you can see here, for the Twilio SMS, we have used three parameters: the SID, the token, and the number from which the SMS is sent. And for the Azure tables, we have used this table called users, and we have inserted a record in the table once the user has been sent an SMS, and then we have stored the hash of the SMS inside the OTP column. And for the partition key, we have used the first letter of the last name as the partition key.